Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fan of ShowMeFootball.com, and today I wanted to do a little bit of a season reflection for the Mizzou Tigers and their football season. I actually want to apologize first because I've just been really unengaged with my Mizzou content lately. I haven't made a lot of videos recently about Mizzou football, even though I've wanted to. I've had so much to do, and even though I love Mizzou, the Chiefs are my priority on this channel. I talk about them the most. But I've still, not that I haven't, my Mizzou fandom has not wavered at all, but I just haven't been able to make videos talking about it. But a lot has happened since the last time I actually made a video with this Mizzou team. So I did just want to make an overall season reflection of everything that's gone on over the latter half of the season. But, the first thing I think worth mentioning when it comes to Mizzou is the defensive turnaround. That's got to be the number one storyline as we close out the year for Mizzou, because Mizzou at one point looked like they weren't going to win another game for the rest of the season because of the defense. After the Texas A&M game, it really looked like, man, Steve Wilkes isn't going to make it through year one. What a horrible defensive coordinator hire. And I went back and forth on Steve Wilkes too, because I was initially excited about the hire. I liked the hire, and when the defense struggled early on, I said, guys, he just doesn't have a ton of talent to work with. And then they kept getting worse, and I'm like, well, even though the talent isn't really there, I don't think the talent is 130th in the country bad. So maybe this is on Wilkes a little bit. And look, I do think it was on Wilkes to an extent. I think what it was the scheme was harder to teach to college players than NFL players. And Steve Wilkes had been in the NFL for the past however long, and that's what he was used to, and he was trying to bring a lot of that to the college game, and players just weren't picking up on it as well. And some of it was still talent too, and Mizzou is still talent deficient in a few areas, sure, but now Steve Wilkes has completely turned this thing around. It was amazing. I mean, they literally went from dead last in the country to really good, like a top 5 defense in the SEC statistically. It was amazing. Like, players just started stepping up. They got a little bit healthier. That was part of the problem too. They were missing a lot of guys on the defensive line. They started to get some of those pieces back as the season went on. And I hate roping the Chiefs into this, but I've said it before on some of my Chiefs videos. It is amazing how the defensive turnaround is similar to the Chiefs. Really, the Chiefs and Mizzou, they're such similar teams, and it almost wears me out because it feels like I'm watching the same team twice a weekend. But both of them had, historically bad defenses to start out the year and have somehow turned it around to this point to be really freaking good. But this is about Mizzou, and yeah, Mizzou's defensive turnaround has been great. I mean, they shut down Florida. They did a really good job in the South Carolina game. The Arkansas game, which I'll talk about a little bit since it was their last game of the season and everything. Look, Arkansas ended up scoring towards the end, but that was more on the offense than the defense, because the Mizzou offense just kept putting the Mizzou defense back out there over and over again, and it wasn't really fair to them. They were asking them to be perfect, and eventually it was going to break open for Arkansas, and they were going to score some points. And it was just really hard for Mizzou to win that game when they were getting no help from the offense. But yeah, I mean, the top storyline closing out the season is the defensive turnaround with Steve Wilkes. And once he gets some of these recruits in here that are coming in the next class, and Mizzou hits the transfer portal and everything like that, I expect really good things with this defense going forward with Steve Wilkes. So Mizzou ends the season 6-6, which at the beginning of the year, I think the expectation was probably around 7-5, 8-4. So 6-6 is a tiny bit of a disappointment, but it's like, hey, 6-6, you can live with that. Because at one point this season, it looked like Mizzou winning 6 games was just impossible. But then they go on to beat Florida, which was one of their better wins in a while. That Florida game was fantastic. I actually was watching on my phone because I had somewhere to be, and I wanted to scream whenever they got that 2-point conversion to win the game. And I actually really liked that call by Eli Drinkwitz going for 2. And I knew he would go for 2 if they had scored there, because he said they were going to do the same thing in the Boston College game. So Drink's philosophy in overtime seems to be to go for 2, especially because the overtime rules are after the first round of possessions, you have to go for 2 anyway, so might as well. But yeah, anyway, I mean, it does seem like Mizzou salvaged the season, and it's a little unfortunate that we have to say that they salvaged it, because, yeah, it was at a point where it was looking like a lost season, and not a lot of people expected that. Not a lot of people are happy that we have to call this season salvaged, but it's good that they did. You didn't want the wheels to fall off. You know, you don't want to see players quit on a second-year head coach already and mail it in. Drink rallied the troops. He got them going, and he was able to get some tough wins and get a 6-6 season and get them bowl eligible. And Drinkwitz really takes bowl eligibility seriously. A lot of people don't care about being in a bowl game and stuff. Some of these other coaches, if it's not in the college football playoff or an NY6 bowl, they really don't care, and they'd probably encourage their players to sit out, and they just don't care about the bowl game. Drink cares about the bowl game. It means something to him. He's talked about how we want to play in a game with a trophy in it, and we want to bring back hardware. And, you know, Michael Maietti, this is one of my favorite Drink moments this season, but starting center Michael Maietti, it was looking like maybe he was going to leave last year or move on with his life, but Drinkwitz convinced him to come back for another year and promised him, if you come back, we're going to play in a bowl game. And he got emotional talking about it, saying, I promised him he would play in a bowl game, and we got it, and let's go play in a freaking bowl game. And I really loved that, and it just shows that Drink really cares about his players too. Not that we didn't already know, but I just love the way that Drink was able to recover and keep this team moving, even though the season didn't really go the way they wanted it to at the beginning. I do want to talk about this last Arkansas game, Eli Drinkwitz and Connor Bazelak. Those are all hot topics right now. Now, first of all, I'm not surprised by the result of the Arkansas game. It kind of went as I expected it. It was a game that Mizzou could have won, and really probably should have won, but there were a few things that went wrong that ruined the momentum and just really killed any chance Mizzou had of winning that game, and a lot of it was on the offensive side of the ball. And look, first of all, I will say, as much as I love Eli Drinkwitz, I'm questioning his ability to call plays a little bit. There are just a lot of times this year where I'm like, Drink, what the heck are you doing? Now, I understand Drink doesn't necessarily have the personnel to maybe run what he wants to do, but I mean, even then, like, calling a QB draw for Connor Bazelak, who I'll get to in a second, on like 2nd and 15 against Arkansas, why? I mean, talk about not knowing your team. Connor Bazelak can't run. He's already hurt on top of it, and you're running a QB draw. It's just a waste of a down. Going for it on 4th and 5 from about midfield, but then not going for it on 4th and 1 earlier in the game, it just was weird to me. A lot of times like that this year, I kind of felt like that, like, what the heck are you doing? I felt like Drink kind of played not to lose more than playing to win sometimes, and that just annoyed me a little bit. And the weird thing about it is I feel like Drinkwitz was more aggressive last year. I just don't remember him being this conservative last year. He seemed to pull out the trick plays a lot, and look, I don't want him to pull out trick plays too much, because there were times where I thought he was calling too many trick plays, and it seemed like the only way they can move the ball was to do all this trickery and stuff. But I do appreciate the creativity from Drinkwitz, especially last season. But it didn't seem to work as much this year, and he seemed to panic a little bit and kind of, I don't know, it didn't seem like he was being serious, for a lack of a better term. It's like, Drink, what are you doing? Like, is he trying to win? But, yeah, I mean, part of it is Connor Bazelak. He just is not the answer. I had given up on Connor Bazelak weeks and weeks ago. Some people were still like, oh, he's fine. He's not a great quarterback, but he's a good quarterback. He's not even a good quarterback, guys. And some of it could be because he's still hurt, loss of confidence, whatever. But I was really frustrated to see towards the end there that Drinkwitz would not try another option like Brady Cook or Tyler Macon. I know we saw them in the Georgia game when Connor Bazelak was out with injury, and they weren't stellar or anything, but they showed you some things. And something you have to consider is that you can't take away a bunch from two basically freshman quarterbacks making their first start against one of the best college defenses of all time. Okay, I would have liked to see a couple of them maybe get some more run against some other teams and other games. We just didn't see it. I mean, Connor Bazelak was 10 of 24 for like 60 passing yards. I mean, you're not going to win with that. And Drink gives us this. Connor Bazelak gives us our best chance to win. If 10 for 24 and 60 yards gives you your best chance to win, I would be terrified for next year. And, I mean, Brady Cook and Tyler Macon must be horrible if, what Connor Bazelak is doing is not their floor, at this moment. I was questioning Drink, man. I feel like he has this blind allegiance to Bazelak a little bit. I understand fans that are upset. I know maybe Connor Bazelak is the best one at practice and everything like that, but at some point you have to realize he's just, when it comes game time, he's just not good. He seems to, not be capable of throwing a ball 10 yards or more down the field. And this is another complaint I have about Drink's play calling. It seemed like he would run, pass, maybe like 2 runs with Tyler Beatty, a run up the middle, and then maybe a run to the side, and then he would do like a low percentage fade, chucking it down the sidelines. I'm like, you got guys like Kiki Chisholm and Toski Dove, who really should be running more slants or things of that nature. And sometimes I just felt like Drink was not using his players to do what they do best, and more so asking them to do what he wants to do. And again, parallels between the Chiefs and Mizzou. I feel like Andy Reid does that a lot with players, and Drink seems to be doing a lot of that here. But that frustrated me a little bit too. Excuse me, I'm fumbling with my words a little bit. But I'll be interested to see what happens with the quarterback position this offseason. I'll be interested to see what this offense looks like next year with some of these other recruits coming in, and maybe the transfer portal too. You get a couple contributors, slide them into some starting roles, and the offense looks different. Because the thing is, the offense was like a top 25 offense to start the year, and Connor Bazelak was not as bad as he is now. I don't know what happened, but the offense just completely fell off. A lot of it had to do with Connor Bazelak, and it seems like maybe a quarterback change needs to be made. Because I'll tell you what, if they come out next season and in the first game they roll out Connor Bazelak as the starter, a lot of fans are going to be upset. And if he goes out there and he shits the bed, you're going to have a hard time selling the fan base on that next season. So Drink has a lot to think about coming up with the quarterback position, and also transfer implications with Brady Cook and Tyler Macon. And that Arkansas game just really frustrated me. He should have been taken out. And the Mizzou offense had chances to score. Drinkwitz schemed up Dominic Lovett, and Boo Smith opened deep a couple times, and Connor Bazelak just missed him. I mean, he can't seem to hit a deep ball. So, yeah, I don't know how much more I can talk about it. The whole thing frustrates me. It really does. Then, of course, I can't make a video reflecting on Mizzou's season without bringing up Tyler Beatty. What a freaking season for Tyler Beatty, man. He now holds the record for best rushing season in Mizzou history. He beat Devin West's record. He has over 1,500 yards rushing on the year. He has like an additional 200-something yards in the receiving game. He actually is second in the entire nation in scrimmage yards and FBS. What a season it was for him. I can't wait to see what he does in the NFL. And the guy really was the entire team. which makes his performances more impressive. He is a Doak Walker finalist with Kenneth Walker Jr., RB from Michigan State, who I think is probably the favorite to win the award. But, man, and I know I'm a little biased, I think the award should go to Beatty because he's just so valuable to this team. Without Beatty, what's their record? 3 or 4 wins? I mean, it's scary to think what this team would have looked like if Tyler Beatty was not on the roster or was hurt or whatever. But he had 5 200-yard games, which is amazing. And he's doing all this while he's really the only threat on the offense. And when you're the only threat on the offense, well, then it's easier for the defense to game plan for you because they all know you're going to be going to Tyler Beatty almost every single time. And that's what makes it so impressive for Tyler Beatty is even then he was still able to have so many good performances this year. He's such an explosive player. There were concerns coming into the year if he can hold up over a season. And not only did he hold up, but, I mean, he was taking almost 40 carries a game in some instances and holding up and still going. It almost seemed like he got more dangerous as the game went on. In Florida, or in the Florida game a couple times, he was really close to breaking a long one in the fourth quarter. The dude is just electric with the ball in his hands. He's the perfect modern NFL running back. I really hope the Chiefs pick him up. I would love that, him and Nick Bolton being teammates again, but what a year it was for Tyler Beatty, and I hope he wins the Doak Walker Award, even though he's probably an underdog. But yeah, it just can't go unmentioned how amazing he was. Maybe the best offensive performance over a season by a Mizzou player ever. So now we wait to see who Mizzou's bowl opponent is. Honestly, I don't really care who it is, who they play. I just want it to be a winnable game, and I want to see Mizzou win a bowl game and end the season with a winning record. I want Drinkwitz to get this team its first bowl win in a while. Barry Odom was winless in bowl games when he was here. I would really like to see Drink bring one home. We'll have to see, though. And really, you just got to look forward to the future with Drinkwitz. His recruiting classes continue to be amazing. If he just stacks more of those classes, I think you'll really start to see improvement. Because keep in mind, even though there were some disappointing aspects of this year's team, Drinkwitz's only recruiting class is only true freshmen right now. So let's keep that in mind. Just allow him to have more time and continue building this team up. And I think we'll really start to see Mizzou compete for something in the future. But yeah, man, that's all I got. I just wanted to reflect on this Mizzou football season in a video. But I want to hear from you guys. What did you think of this Mizzou football season? Were you satisfied with the 6-6 record? What are just some of your thoughts, favorite moments from the season? Let me know. Also, the Drinkwitz lightsaber thing after Dan Mullen got fired, or after beating Dan Mullen and then Dan Mullen got fired. That was amazing. I didn't mention that. But yeah, let me know in the comments. All that being said, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Mizzou fans can find this. And make sure you check out my work on showmefootball.com. But I'll see you in the next one.